Shinken, Kongo no Kata, 1938, described with illustrations and text in Nakaso Genwa's Kata Taika. The kata is formerly known as Shushi no Kon. Taira Shinken planned to revise and rename this kata. Later, he reversed his decision and continued to use the name Shushi no Kon for the same kata. At the same time, he devised and created a new kata that he then named Kongo no Kon. This is the reason for some ongoing confusion. So I clear this up now. This kata is basically the same as old style Shushi no Kon, as already described in 1930 by Miki Nizabu. It is also the same, almost, as the Koryo Shushi no Kon, handed down in the Kakatsubo. It is also found as Shushi no Kon Koshiki in the curriculum of Inoue Motokatsu's Ryukyu Kobo Jutsu. There are three main things to note in this kata. These are technical specialties. As for one, and you might have heard this before in the connection with Yamane Ryu, where it is said that within the kamae there is a hidden tsuki. And this is actually what Taira Shinken described in this book in 1938. So what you do is after the strike, you do the front strike. And usually people today, they do a tsuki and then they do a kamae. But the original way that he did it was you do the strike and then you block, and while you're blocking, while you're doing this block, you thrust. Okay, it's a sliding thrust. It's not this pokey stab that you see today, but it's a sliding thrust like this. Immediately block, counter, block, counter, and back. Okay? So, strike. Very important technique. Number two, there's a rotation that's a little unusual, and the other versions of this kata do it differently. So we're standing in that direction. He turns 1, 2, and goes into the protective position. So Taira explains this movement. Let me explain. He says here, what you're doing here, in the position behind the ball, you sneak forward. You sneak towards the enemy, the opponent, okay? Then you strike, so it's sneaking, you sneak in. You sneak in, you sneak in like this. Okay, number one. Number two, the technique following here, the front strike. He describes as hane ageru, which means jumping up, shooting up, and he does it like this. Okay? And he says, in his writing, this is going to the private parts. Kinteki. So you strike upward, counter downward. Very hard, very confusing. Opponent has to react on this and immediately gets a counter. Okay? Hane Ageru. After the Hane Ageru, and while he said before, you sneak in. At this point here, you sneak in. And the next one is, you sneak away like this, right? And while you're sneaking away, because the enemy's approaching, trying to get an advantage of you, you sneak away and then strike him. Alright? So this is this part here. Sneaking in, using the clever technique, sneak away, and then strike him. To the side. That's it. I wrap it up. Specialties of this kata. Number one is the old form of Shushi. Number two, after the strike, you thrust by first deflecting a jora thrust from the opponent. And within this deflection here is tsuki, which is pulled back immediately. He also said it's not solely meant against the ball. It also can be a sword in the Jodan coming out for you, right? So he says you can thrust to the forearms. That's number one. Okay, very good technique. Taira was a very good technician. It just seems that his Okinawan student, they didn't get it all. Okay? They just get the form, but not the tactics. Number 2 and 3. Sneaking in and sneaking out. And Hane Ageo. Okay? Sneaking in, this here. You're sneaking in, and then you make a combination that confuses the enemy. It's just a simple trick. It's like a feint. If it hits, it hits. If not, you immediately continue. And here it is. So strike up, strike down. Meant for kinteki. So private parts. Okay? Here, sneaking in, jumping the ball up, and sneaking out, sneaking away from the enemy. He's approaching, trying to get advantage. You're giving me a large strike to the side of the body. That's it. Kongo by Taira Shinken, 1938, 1938, formerly known as Shushi, still known today as Shushi.